Hey, Lighthouse is probably the most hated map in Tarkov, especially in PvP. The spawns are rough, rotations are awkward, and it honestly feels like it desperately needs a rework. First, a quick overview of the map, how I think about its structure to make it easier to understand for you. Second, the part you actually clicked for, how to clear the rogue camp consistently. Let's start with the map. Lighthouse isn't complicated structurally. I'd split it into 5 distinct areas. You have the water treatment plant, often called the rogue camp. You have the main road and the beach. This is especially important for some quests. You have the villages, both sunken and the actual village. You have Lighthouse with Lightkeeper, which of course plays a huge part in his story. And you have the mountains with the chalets. Traversal of Lighthouse is harder than most other maps, because of its verticality and because it has some very rough cliffs. Especially in the mountains, rotations can be slow, sightlines can be long, and the elevation matters a lot. Most quests send you either to water treatment plant or the central area around the road or the chalets. The standard extracts are either northern checkpoint or southern road, basically opposite ends of the map. I rarely use them. I prefer the car, red rebel or path to shoreline extracts, since those are closer to actual objectives. NPC wise, apart from regular scavs and PMCs, you can encounter Partisan. I've seen him twice in hundreds of raids. The Goons, I've seen them a couple of times, about a 50-50 between the rogue camp and the chalets. Then you have the rogues at water treatment plant, effectively a 100% chance to spawn. And you have the boss, Sriaji, I hope I didn't butcher his name too much, and his followers on the Lightkeeper Island. Outside of Black Division and Shadow of Tagilla on Labyrinth, this is probably the hardest AI lineup in the game. But fear not, Lighthouse isn't about aim, it's about knowledge and how to deal with the map consistently. But first, access to the map requires progressing through the story and handing over $20,000. That's not trivial for beginners. If you're struggling with the money, run streets. It's more consistent for cash early on, especially if you don't have access to labs. Loot-wise, Lighthouse has been hit or miss for me, mostly miss. That's one of the reasons I don't particularly enjoy this map. Loot is more spread out compared to other maps where value is more often concentrated. Still, the best loot locations are both the chalets, especially inside, and the rogue camp. Mostly the buildings, but in general on the complex. You can also try Lightkeeper Island, which requires progressing through mechanics questline, starting with Network Provider Part 1. This island houses the bedroom marked room, which can be quite good. I might make a separate video about unlocking Lightkeeper at some point. PMCs are mostly encountered on the road, sometimes near the Lightkeeper Island bridge, sometimes at the beach, the chalets or the village. I actually used to think they never went into water treatment plant until I killed one there recently. 2 final notes before we move on to the rogues. Do not cross the bridge to Lightkeeper Island unless you unlocked access or you know exactly how the mines work. Additionally, I highly recommend you use a decent optics for this map, because distances can be quite far. Now let's talk about the rogue camp. This is what makes Lighthouse interesting. There are many strategies out there. I'll show you the 2 I actually use. They differ in approach, but they follow the same principle, which is eliminate the key gunners first. Control the angles step by step and move only if their dominance is established. First, let's take a look at the rogue layout. There are stationary rogues and then there are what I will call loose rogues. Stationary rogues spawn on mounted guns, mostly on rooftops. Remember that they are not always fully populated. So sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. Okay, let's start with building 1. 2 gunners, 1 covering the main bridge and the main entrance, and 1 looking out backwards toward the armored train. On building 2 you have up to 3 rogues, 2 overlooking the complex and 1 facing the armored train again. On building 3 you usually have 1 gunner facing the mountains. Then in front of the complex you have 2 mounted gunners covering the main bridge approach. I have never had a run since 1.0 where every single possible rogue was present. Next up we have the loose rogues. I have encountered them 3 times around building 1. They were on either side of the building at the ground floor. I've encountered them once on building 2. I was really surprised to see them there, I haven't seen this before. And then I had them twice on building 3. This used to be much more common, so I wasn't that surprised. As of 1.0 I have never seen them roaming the center courtyard once. Not sure if that is even still possible. Additionally, the goons can spawn on water treatment. When they do, they usually spawn on or near building 2. but they will react to shots and reposition. In one run I engaged them on building 2 and then ended up killing 2 of them on top of building 3. They are extremely dangerous if you run in the open, so it's always good to clear from an elevated position that offers you some form of hard cover. If they engage on you, they are likely running at you. Important note before we start. Both of my methods work best as USEC, and if you haven't recently aggroed the rogues, I can't reliably speak for bear strategies. Now onto my first approach, the mountain entry. This used to be my preferred method, especially with a thermal. It gives you a full overview and lets you clear methodically. From the mountains, your first priority is the corner gunner on building 2, the one on the edge with the strongest angle over the complex. Once he's dead, your life becomes much easier. Next, check building 3. If a rogue is present or moving from the mounted gun, eliminate him. Then you try to get an angle on the second gunner of building 2. He's sometimes a bit hard to see since he's sitting somewhat behind a metal plate. Next, both gunners on building 1. For these guys you might need to get closer, meaning on top of building 2 or 3, or you need a non-thermal high magnification scope to get them. Speaking about optics, weather matters a lot here. A thermal helps a bit, but you must bring a regular scope as a backup since some targets exceed the thermal range. After rooftop control I always move to building 2. Make sure I do another sweep of the complex and make sure the goons are definitely not hiding somewhere and surprise me. From there you can clear the rear gunner on building 2, the remaining rooftop threats, mostly scavs, in rare cases it's partisan, and the front mounted rogues. Again, they can sometimes be a bit harder to see if you are far away. Once the front 2 are down, the camp is essentially yours. The upside of this approach is that you get very clean sightlines and you have a good overview, especially using a thermal. It's very hard to miss any target running around the camp. The second approach, we will call it the village bridge entry. Cross from the village towards the rogue camp and hug the blue fence. I usually run on the outside of the fence, but I have seen people go along the inside of the fence as well. Your goal is the same. Eliminate the corner gunner on building 2, which might trigger the rogues on building 3 by the way. This is generally not bad since it means they push you and you can't just hold the angle. Afterwards you need to go on top of building 3 to clear out the rest of the rogues. Make extra sure that you kill the gunner on building 2 cleanly. He can sometimes be quite annoying to deal with if you don't kill him on the first shot. This is why I usually use a proper 308 gun and preferably use M80 or M61 here. Clear the remaining gunners on building 2, then snipe building 1 and the front gunners. Same principle, same result. In my experience, the real danger scenarios are loose rogues pushing unexpectedly, which happened once to me, the goons spawning in water treatment, which happened twice and was a bit dodgy, and surprise loose rogue groups on top of building 2 or near building 1. Happened a total of 4 times to me. Once the camp is cleared, you can loot and quest freely, but never fully relax. Loose rogues, scavs or even partisan can spawn later and catch you off guard. Final note for the USEC players. If you haven't recently killed rogues, you can sometimes walk through water treatment plant without being shot, as long as you keep your distance and you don't approach the rooftops or the mounted guns. I've done this pre 1.0 and haven't tested it extensively since, but it is an option. You see, Lighthouse isn't mechanically difficult, it's a knowledge-gated map. Once you understand the sightlines, the spawn logic, the priority targets, rogue camp becomes repeatable. I hope you found this guide helpful. If you, I would appreciate it if you like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye bye.